Whew. Good to be back. Okay, today we are going back to the beginning of my gaming experiences. The first Nintendo 64 game I ever played. What's that? No, it's not Mario 64. Nope, it's not Mario anything, actually. It is Gex, Enter the Gecko for the Nintendo 64, and yes, this label has seen better days. There was like a yard sale attempt on this cartridge, and sorry. But Gex was actually the first N64 game I ever played. It was the first one that we owned when we got a Nintendo 64. That and another game called F1 Grand Prix. Those were the two first games. If anyone's curious, I didn't have Mario 64 until way later, like almost when N64 was on the way out. I actually had Smash Bros. Before any other Nintendo game. It's through Smash Bros. That I learned about Zelda, Metroid, Mario, etc. Anyway, getting back to Gex. So Gex is a very nostalgic game for me. Accordingly, it's been probably 20 years since I've played the N64 version of the game. I did play the PlayStation 1 version like 7-10 years ago, something like that, whenever it came available on like the PlayStation Store, and I really enjoyed it. It was like pretty cool to experience that version of it that I never played before. But today, we're going back to N64. With that said, the capture quality, like for N64 going, like it's coming off of an actual N64 going in here, so it's not the greatest. I apologize. It's the best that I can do. Generally, I want to still steer clear from the emulation. I want to play the game like as it was, in all of its old terrible quality. It's not that bad. I'm just letting you know now. I also got a new controller pack, which is great because now I can actually save games, because I haven't had a working controller pack also in probably 20 years. So games like Gex and Pokemon Stadium can't even save the games on because they require the pack thing. But, alright, let's get into Gex. So what is Gex? Or rather, who is Gex? Well, Gex is a mascot character, at least he was a mascot character, of Crystal Dynamics, the same company that makes Tomb Raider, even those newer ones that have come out over the last like 6 years, which is pretty cool that not only are they still in business, but they're making great games. Bring back Gex, maybe, who knows? But Gex is a television-obsessed gecko who spends all of his time watching TV. He knows movies and TV shows really well, and then when you're playing the games, he's spouting one-liners all over the place. The game itself is an action platformer, kind of set up in the same style as Mario 64, in the sense that it has a hub world that you launch the levels from. Each level contains set objectives to complete, which, when they complete, all work toward the greater goal of getting farther into the hub world. But every level is themed after a television genre. And I say genre because they're not like aimed specifically at like spoofing a particular franchise. Like, there isn't a level where it's like, oh yes, this is all inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street exclusively. Like, no, it's all just like general haunted house stuff, or like a kind of cartoony, vibrant landscape with elements of like Looney Tunes or cartoons in general. There's a space level where it's like asteroids and aliens and rockets. There's a dinosaur one. That was my favorite when I was a kid. It's like a prehistoric kind of volcano. There's also a cave version. And then there's also one where you're like inside of computer machinery, equipment, and then the Kung Fu Theater, which is running around fighting ninjas and whatnot. So they're all like inspired by genres. The N64 version actually has one exclusive level, which is an underwater level that also contains a portion where you climb up the Titanic in the position it was in the Titanic movie when it's like going straight down. So that's like one of the very few instances in the game where it is like specifically giving you some kind of element from a TV show or movie. But for the most part, it's genre inspired. But you jump in these levels, you go through, every level has 2 or 3, very rarely 1 objective to complete. You just navigate until you either meet the conditions to spawn or find a red remote. getting a red remote will end the level, and then you can either jump back in for the other objectives or go to a different level. Collect enough red remotes and you will trigger the boss television in that area to turn on, which upon completion will open up the next area. So very Mario 64 inspired. One thing I'll say that I don't like right off the gate is that the hub world is very just flavorless. It's just like marble in a white void. There's like no personality to it. It's just bland, which is a shame because they could have done a lot with that. I'm not really sure what I could suggest they would have done, but like if the whole premise is that you're running around a thing called the media dimension, I mean, there's so much more you could have done with it than just what this presentation is. It's just so bleh. Every area every area does look the same. The only difference with areas is just architecture. Some areas have like, one area has a roof, one area has like moss covering some of it. Like the changes are so minor between. Comparing it to Mario 64, like the castle had like three stories, and they were all very different from each other. The first was like that weird like daycare looking scenery, and you go downstairs, it's like a dark dungeon with like metal walls and like water's flooded the area. You go up and it's like, now it's like a castle, it's like a ring around. Up again, it's a darker room. So like everything, it looks very different. Whereas in Gex, it doesn't have that same vibe. It all looks kind of the same, which is kind of a bummer, to be honest. But there are far worse things to complain about. Getting back to talking about Gex himself, certain levels, Gex's appearance will actually change. He'll wear certain costumes. There's not many though. The prehistoric levels, he'll wear like kind of a caveman sash type thing, and then the space levels, he has like a full-on astronaut suit. The Titanic one, he has a wetsuit on, but that's kind of it. There's certain areas in the cartoon levels where he wears either like a bunny outfit or like a duck costume, but there's no themed costume for the horror levels or the regular cartoon stuff. Oh, and the Kung Fu one, he has like a Kung Fu jacket on. So like it's kind of neat that he themes himself for most of the levels. He has a tuxedo on in the hub world, which is really weird. There's no context for that in the N64 version unless you have the manual, which, like I've said before with this stuff, I don't have them anymore, so that's what the internet's for though. Works out. As you go through the game though, whether it's on certain conditions being met, like Gex takes damage or like passes a certain object or something, he'll spout the one-liners voiced by Dana Gould. So some of them are just like quotes from movies, like Austin Powers stuff or stuff like that. Some of them are like jokes about celebrities. Some of them can get pretty obscure. Like I can't imagine that a lot of the target audience for this game would get a lot of these.
Forget about it. Hey, I feel like I'm trapped in Boy George's pants. Shark! Has anyone seen Fox Mulder's sister? Had 1 million years, 2 white tigers, and we're at Siegfried and Roy.
Like, yeah, I was totally watching the X-Files when I was 7 years old, and know who Boy George is. Like, come on. Some of them are, like, legit funny, but I will say this. When I picked up the N64 version again, I was doing some research on it. Apparently, up to 500 lines from Gex were cut from the PlayStation 1 version to the N64 version because of memory reasons. N64, the cartridges were definitely inferior to what the PlayStation 1's discs could do. And because of that, stuff got cut. Not just Gex's dialogue, but even content. There's one core level that's gone, called Poltergex. It's on one of the haunted house levels. And there's a whole bunch of bonus levels that were removed too. Plus dialogue and cutscenes too. There's an opening and ending cutscene on the PlayStation version. Those are not in the N64 version. The game just boots up to the menu and then you hit start and that's it. There's nothing else. Just to give you a quick comparison, here's the PlayStation 1 title screen.
Coming through.
Okay, he like runs in, the bad guy's chasing him, the remote animation. Okay, now the N64 version.
It's tail time.
There's no bad guy, it's static, you know, like stuff like that. For that reason, a lot of people, including myself, absolutely, consider the N64 version to be something of a butchered port. It's kind of the term you can use. So much was cut from it that it's almost like, why'd you even try? Like, you're removing a lot of the game's identity by getting rid of all those lines of dialogue, and you're just removing context and sense from it by removing cutscenes and stuff. Content being missing isn't the biggest problem, though. I can live with all that. Because the game is still complete. They didn't remove, like, 50 levels. It was just 1 plus bonuses. So we're still okay as far as the playthrough goes. It's definitely a bummer not to have more jokes, but, the bigger issue is the camera and the control. So the control is a little weird. I feel like I'm always trying to correct what Gex is trying to do. It's really hard to explain unless you put it in your own hands. But it's like I feel like I always have to just like nudge him around and do like micromanagement for his movement. He doesn't really seem to have like... Going back to Mario 64, Mario could like sneak, walk, and run. Gex seems to only be able to go from stop to kind of moving to maximum speed. And the difference between kind of moving and max speed is very narrow, which makes precision movement very difficult, and it caused me a ton of deaths, particularly in the space levels. Cue the montage.
Has anyone...
It's ridiculous. I hated those space levels because of that. The other issue that compounds on top of the control is the camera. Okay, so let me also reference Mario 64 again. Mario 64 is very smart with its camera design because you have manual control, but the camera is also scripted to move on certain things, like you see here. You go through these bars, the camera swings around, it keeps following you, it turns around the next corner, all automatically. Is it perfect? No, of course not. But it's still really good. Gex, it has moments like that, but they're pretty rare from what I was feeling. You're spending most of it trying to manually adjust, and it's not always the best at adjusting. You're still struggling to get like the best angle on the action, the best perspective. It's hard to tell what's going on. Combine that with the issues with control, and again, so many deaths. Just so many deaths. Which eventually led to a game over. And here's the problem with the game over. You get a game over, and the game says, hey, press A to try again, and it loads up on a new game. Let's think about that for a second. You're like 4 hours into the game, and the game's like, hey, you gotta start over. Excuse me? Like, can you imagine playing like any Zelda game, and like you're 8 hours in, and you die for the first time? And you get booted back to the title screen and your save file's not there? New game! Like, what? So, don't worry though, you can load your previous game, thank you controller pack. Here's the issue though, it loads the last time that game was saved, which means you have 0 lives. It's the last attempt before, like it was the last successful mission. So I completed a mission having 0 lives. That's where the game saved. Which means if I die again, it's game over and I have to load that state again. That is insane. It should boot you back to the title screen, you load in with like, 3 lives or whatever, and then you go from there. The punishment is getting kicked out of the level. The punishment shouldn't be that you get this weird state where you're always loading off on the edge of the cliff. That's ridiculous. I can't... Compare that to Mario 64. I'm gonna do a lot of Mario 64 comparisons. I'm sorry, but it's just, it works out the best. Mario 64, I get a game over. You get booted back to the title screen. You get the whole like, oh, you got a game over. You start from outside the castle with more lives. I think it's 4. The punishment was getting kicked out of the level and having to run back to it again. You know, like, that's bad, and I hate it. Ugh. Hate it. Alright, as far as progression goes, it's all about collecting those red remotes. Red remotes will unlock boss levels, beat those to get gold remotes, and then gold remotes will unlock the next area of the hub world. The boss fights are all different, which I'll give the game credit for that. They're not in any way similar to each other. One of them you're on like a Gilligan's Island style thing, and you're moving around, whacking fireballs back at your opponents. Another one you're in this like laboratory and you have to race the boss to hit a switch in time. And then the last one was the one I remember most from as a kid, because I'm a big Godzilla fan. It's Gex as Godzilla fighting the bad guy of the main game as Mechagodzilla in like a big cityscape. So there's a lot of variety there, and I like that a lot. But unlocking the gold remotes will eventually lead us to the final area, where the final boss, Rez, is. In order to fight him, we need 33 red remotes, which is basically all of them. Like, I think there's 35 total. I could be wrong. But you have to basically beat like the whole game to unlock this final boss fight, which doesn't, like, it isn't a bad thing in itself, but with the control problems and the camera, that's a lot of like frustration in these levels that just make me angry. Like the space levels, there's 2 of those, and the second one is just a complete nightmare. I hate it so much. The last Kung Fu Theater level, though, was pretty fun. I gotta be honest. One thing about the levels I didn't really get into too specific with was that most of them are pretty huge. They can be pretty confusing, too. Especially the computer levels and one of the haunted house levels. They're very, very sparse. And because of the camera, like, you have limited perspective on the environment, which makes it seem more confusing than it might really be. Another nice thing about Mario 64, like, the camera is positioned in a way that lets you see the level as you're moving around, and the areas are pretty open, and it's pretty easy to see where you're going and where you can go. Gex is more about interior space, so it's a lot of hallways and stuff like that, so they're a little more confusing. But I will say, everything came together really nice in that last Kung Fu level. If there were more levels that worked like that one in the game, just as far as their progression, the platforming, just the fun, the game would be a lot better than I think it is, at least the N64 version at least. But getting all of that stuff done, we can now access the final boss. The final boss fight is against this Rez guy. He looks kind of like if the Shredder from Ninja Turtles and the Lord Zed from Power Rangers, I guess. Like, if they just like fused into one thing. It has 2 phases. Phase 1's the easy phase. He just, you get a free hit on him right out of the gate. One thing I'll say though, Gex and his friggin' motor mouth, the first time I fought Rez, Gex is spouting a dumb one-liner and Rez just crashes into me and takes a free hit. So every subsequent attempt, I'd be mashing the A button to jump as soon as the level started. But you get a free hit out of the gate, all you have to do is dodge him, shooting these bombs at you, and then you can either whack him or make him crash into this center electric field 3 times. That'll move to phase 2. Also known as the impossible phase, at least compared to the first phase. Rez grows in size and now tries to smash you. The objective being you want to make him smash these buttons that cause giant TVs to fall on his head. And I really struggled with this. I mean, again, cue the montage. I couldn't figure out what I'm doing wrong. He just always hits me when he does the smash. And you get 4 hits, so he takes 3 in this phase, which means that, yeah, in theory, you could just like allow yourself to get smashed on top of the button and then win. But more often than not, he'd smack me in between. Even looking up like a video of it online, the guy in the video did the same stuff I was trying to do, and he wasn't getting smashed. So I was just, it was tough. But I eventually figured it out, and I was able to win. So hitting him 3 times, kaboom, and then there we go. The game is over. He just kind of like, and then the game is just done. End credits roll. There's no ending thing. It's just over. End credits are over, showing you where all of the bonus remotes are. Every level also had 2 bonus white remotes, one of which you get by collecting enough of the pickups, like the kind of coin equivalents of the game, the other which is just kind of hidden somewhere. These don't contribute to giving you a better ending, though. It's just concept art, which I mean, like, we have the internet now. I don't need to work for that. I would have totally committed if it was all concept art. But yeah, okay. Gex 64 over. Kind of a mixed bag. Nostalgia is a very powerful thing. You can look back at stuff and think that it's, you know, the coolest thing ever, and then pick it up as an adult, and you're just like, oh, gross. And that's kind of how this was for me, to be honest. It's got no presentation. The hub world's kind of bland. The levels and the overall gameplay are fun. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have been committed to beat the whole thing, obviously. But the camera's frustrating, the controls are imprecise sometimes. With it having less voice dialogue, Gex is saying a lot of the same one-liners over and over and over again. Some of the levels are frustrating, even without considering the camera and the control issues. It just kind of compounds on it. Although, like I said, there are some really highlight ones. That last Kung Fu Theater one was really great, and I enjoyed like all the Haunted House ones. And one of the space levels, the first one of the 2, is pretty great too, to be honest. So it's got high points. I'd say it's probably like a solid 6 out of 10, mainly for its control and camera issues. I can live with the no presentation, I guess, but I mean, just for fun, here's the PlayStation 1 version. So we have an opening cutscene that gives us the setup of the story. Rez is back, and the government, I guess, wants Gex to go into the media dimension once more and find him. Gex agrees when they offer to pay him a bunch of money. He gets a nice the tuxedo out of like, you know, James Bond, which is why he has that on. By the way, there's that context. And we go forward. There is an ending cutscene too that has Rez talk to Gex and say like, "Wait, I am your father. I look like this because I fell into a scrap heap trying to get free cable." So there, you know, there's like an actual ending cutscene. And there's more after that too. I won't give it all away. You know, hey, work for it. The PlayStation 1 version, though, is really good. I really enjoyed playing that. I don't like that it's limited to using the D-pad, because I guess that came out before the PlayStation 1 controller that has the analog sticks came out. But it isn't all that bad to get used to it, which is amazing that the one that has a D-pad controls about the same as the one that uses an analog stick. That's like just how bad it is. That's the problem. But it has nicer visuals. There's more Gex dialogue. PlayStation 1 version is one I recommend, 100%. There's one more Gex game that's on N64, Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko. I have actually never played that before. I own it now. Same retro game shop that I got that Xbox Godzilla game had it too, for a good price, so I picked that up. Haven't touched it yet though, but I think that's enough Gex for one day. Yeah, not good, not bad, just kind of, you know. It's just blah. It's like being at a luau at Mel Blanc's house. Okay, so that does it for this revisit. Good to be back. More content coming down the road. The other series on the channel, Just Playing, that goes up 2 times a week, so keep an eye out for that. Definitely subscribe if you want to get notifications. I'm currently doing Mario 64 playthrough and a Yoshi's Story playthrough on that series. More coming down the road. I may film more and do more than 2 times a week, who knows. But yeah, good times. I'll see you guys on the next one. This day has been a long time coming. A while back, I did an episode on Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, which is a game I played as a kid on the Nintendo GameCube. I had recently acquired the Xbox version and went through all of that. It's a good time. I also got a couple other Godzilla games, and I was originally going to do that revisit to include the entire trilogy as it was, the Pipeworks trilogy of games, which includes Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, Godzilla Save the Earth, and then the last one, Godzilla Unleashed, for PlayStation 2 and the Wii. I have both versions. But I found myself strangely fascinated by how much surprisingly fun Destroy All Monsters Melee was, and that became the focus of the video. I also was kind of hesitant to do the other games because it's not really a revisit, because I haven't ever played them before. So, this is the beginning of a new segment on the show that I'm going to call Just Visiting, which is basically a sort of first impressions kind of review of an old game that I've never played before. And we're going to start with Godzilla Save the Earth. This game, I thought when I was younger that this was just the PS2 version of Destroy All Monsters Melee, because when you read the descriptions of the games online, you see gameplay, it looks like the same game. But it turns out it's actually the sequel. This is the second in the Pipeworks trilogy of Godzilla games that they made, for consoles at least. They made 2 portable games as well. So, let's see what's going on with the sequel. It's got more monsters, but is it better than Destroy All Monsters Melee? Well, let's find out. Let's get into Godzilla Save the Earth. One thing I'll say real quick, too, as we get going on this, PS2, like I said in my Gex review, I try to steer clear of, emulation, and I want to clarify what I meant by that, because I actually play a lot of N64 titles, and even some Super Nintendo NES stuff, through Virtual Console on my Wii. I hope to get a Switch one day and do it through that. I know that that's emulation. It is. So what I meant by that was I'm trying to play them on, legitimate copies whenever possible, as opposed to emulating it on PC. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I do play emulations on PC all the time. It's great. It's super fun to, see that bigger presentation and, the better performance. But for the sake of the show and playing it as authentically as I can, I'm always either playing on the original consoles or if I can make the capture quality better with still using a legitimate copy, I'll do emulation on the Wii Virtual Console for certain Nintendo games at least, and even PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 backward compatibility stuff. So this will be off of an actual PlayStation 2 slim unit that I have going through the capture system. So just wanted to clear that up because I felt like I was a little vague with that statement, slash very coming across almost hypocritical because in the Kirby video, I straight up say I'm changing over to the Wii version to get it better, but then I say I don't use emulation. It still is emulation, so just wanted to clear that up. I'm always trying to use legitimate copies of the games wherever possible. So now that I got that cleared up, let's get into Godzilla Save the Earth. Much like its predecessor, Godzilla Save the Earth is still an action fighting game. The first immediate question is, well, what's new? What's different in this game versus the last game? Well, a couple things. So, number one, the arenas are a lot bigger than before. This is a good and a bad thing, because although they're bigger, which is more space to run around, I mean, it's not like that's something that we really needed necessarily. I felt like the small arenas having bigger buildings to go between and throw and get knocked into was pretty cool compared to this game where a lot of the maps do have just a lot of flat ground. I mean, it's a fighting game, so that means that you can fight easier, but I mean, the whole concept to these giant monsters is having them clash in big cityscapes and understand their size and their scale and whatnot. So that's a good and a bad thing, having the big arenas. There's also a new beam clash mechanic where monsters' projectiles can collide in the air and start this little mini game where you're trying to win the beam struggle. I didn't know how to do this when I was first playing it. I ended up looking it up afterward, and you're supposed to mash the square, triangle, and circle buttons on the controller to win. Not the X button though. Like, that's really weird. Just mash them all. Why have I got like? But that's cool because that is a thing that's in a couple of the Godzilla movies, even going back to like the 70s. So it's worth having that. They also changed how the actual projectile system works. Before, you would charge it up and shoot it, and that would be it. The beam, the projectile consumes however much of the gauge was used to charge it. But in Save the Earth, a full charge actually does not consume the whole gauge. In fact, it barely consumes more than like 20-ish% of it. So it kind of rewards you for getting a full charge off, and that's pretty cool. They also introduced more of the rock, paper, scissors element. So in Destroy All Monsters Melee, they had the blunt and edged attack thing, where it was like, yeah, a blunt, this guy resists the blunt attacks, but this guy's weak to the edged attacks. Now there's like 8 different types. It's almost like elements now. Heat, radiation, explosive, concussive. There's like this whole thing now. It's like Pokemon. It's like too much for me to keep track of. 8 is like too much. But it's there, so they were trying to add what they could, and I appreciate that. We've also got a bigger roster now. More monsters, some of which I was really, really wanting to see in the previous game, like Space Godzilla and Mothra. Like, why wasn't Mothra playable in the first one? Come on, Mothra's a staple Godzilla character. But now, here we go, we got it. We got Mothra, we got Space Godzilla. Other newcomers include Baragon, Megagyrus, Mogera. So pretty awesome to see a much larger roster. And I will say, every one of these new characters feels very unique. None of them are clones of the characters that are returning from the previous game, which is a big relief. I kind of assumed that going in. There's going to be a couple of clone situations, but there really isn't. They all play very different from each other. Space Godzilla is like a warlock, which is true for how he was in his own movie. He spawns crystals, you can draw power from them, you can use them as attacks, he can fly and like levitate around the arena. Megagyrus has to steal energy from the opponent monster to charge up her own energy gauge, which again is right out of her movie. Mothra starts off as a larva and then can metamorphosize into the moth form, which is pretty cool. Although I think it would have been better just to start off in the moth form. Like the larva form, like, is not an opponent of any considerable worth in any of the movies. So, but hey, it's a cool detail. You know, they're trying to really bring the movies into this game, which I can really appreciate that. Even Baragon has the traits that he had in his most recent movie, which was, take a breath here, Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All-Out Monsters Attack, in which he's like the ground specialist, digging underground and making tunnels and pitfall traps and stuff. So they all have their traits from the movies. The only new character that I can say that I really don't care for is Mogera. Not because I don't like the character. I mean, it's hard to like that character, but he's just way too goofy in this game. He just like skirts all around the arena. He's like doing his little motions. He's constantly saying his own name, which is not a thing from the movie in the Godzilla universe, at least, that he's featured in. He's piloted by 3 people. It's really goofy. However, we finally got Jet Jaguar, and I know that everyone was asking for that. So Jet Jaguar is in Godzilla Save the Earth. Thank you, Pipeworks, you did it. And his moves are hysterical. I was pretty much laughing the whole time playing as Jet Jaguar. Oh god. So hey, more characters, more fun. At least I'd like to say that it's more fun. The issue with the characters is the method for unlocking them, and this is where Save the Earth is a little bit different than Destroy All Monsters Melee. In Destroy All Monsters Melee, you unlocked characters by beating the story mode with certain characters. So like you beat it with Godzilla 90s, you unlock Godzilla 2000s, keep going. Pretty straightforward. It's still technically the same, but instead of just straight up, okay, you beat it with this character, get that character, now it's all about points. So there's like a store where you buy the monsters from, and initially it's kind of like a gacha mechanic where it's like, okay, I can spend money and I'm gonna get one of these 3 to 4 monsters randomly, and then I can choose the rest. So you're not gonna know who the first one you're getting is. But the main issue that I have is the amount of points it takes. It's like 60,000 something points to start unlocking stuff, and you don't get that much from doing the story mode. The story mode in this game is also not as good as the first one. It's the same length, but it takes longer because of the point thing. So as you go through the missions and you fight monsters, there are these green vials that spawn on the map that give you points. If you want to unlock characters, you have to seek those out, because the points you get from just winning aren't that considerable. It's the bonus you get from collecting all those vials that can really make a difference over the length of an entire playthrough. And that sucks. It's a fighting game. I shouldn't be spending the whole half of the first fight running around like an idiot, knocking over buildings in the hopes of finding one of those green vials, and your opponents can take them from you. I don't know if they mean to, but it happened to me once or twice, which is frustrating. So that's boring. I shouldn't be doing that. Like, come on. So you'd have to play through the story mode thing like 20 times to unlock probably even half the characters. I don't want to do that. So I played it twice, once as Godzilla, once as Rodan. I did not record the Godzilla playthrough because I wasn't sure if I was going to even want to talk about the game at that point. I was just kind of testing it. Should have recorded it. But playing through as both of them only allowed me to unlock one monster, which that sucks. And playing as Rodan, I knew, okay, I gotta get those green things. So I'm spending so much time collecting the green things, not fighting. It made the whole playthrough over 45 minutes long. Compare that to Destroy All Monsters Melee, where you could beat that little mode in 12 minutes. It moves faster, it's more entertaining, it's more focused. I hate the bloated length. It isn't long because it should be long, it's long because you're wasting time collecting these dumb vial things. It's stupid. There's also mini games too. I'm going to get into that separately though. So what I did was, I beat it to experience it, and then I just used cheat codes to unlock the rest of the monsters to feel them, because I don't want to put 25 hours into this Godzilla game. It's not that good. I don't want to do it. And speaking of the single player mode, that's another disappointing thing. So the first game had a cutscene at the beginning, the aliens invade and they take control, and then a cutscene at the end. Oh, we lost. Curse you, humans. So the plot of this game, despite being a sequel, is the same thing. The same aliens come back and they want to conquer Earth again, and you gotta stop them. And it works the same way. It's a big final battle on their ship, and then you win. But here's the problem. The game has an opening cinematic, which is entertaining, but there isn't an end one. Check out what happens when you win.
Ah! You have defeated us! This time!
I guess that's where the budget ran out. It's just a picture that shrinks. I'll get you next time. Seriously? In case you're curious, here's the cutscene when you lose. Come on. So apparently, if you beat the game on the hard difficulty, there is an actual ending cinematic, and the final boss is different. It's Space Godzilla, and you get a cutscene of him exploding. But I mean, come on. I already don't like going through the 45-minute friggin' campaign, let alone on hard difficulty. I did try, but this game is a lot harder than Destroy All Monsters Melee was. I pretty much mastered Destroy All Monsters Melee on medium difficulty. I did play hard. It was certainly difficult, but it was doable. But this game, I never could beat the second stage. I tried playing it once as Godzilla with Anguirus, and he just like destroyed me completely. There was a part where he was just juggling me ceaselessly. That sucked. And then I tried it again as Kiru, and I thought it was going a lot better, but then I went to the second round, and that's where I just hit a wall. I just couldn't do it. And I will give the game credit. You have infinite continues, which is different than the first game in the series, on higher difficulties at least. But I'm throwing myself at a wall for like what's going to be like a 15-second cutscene. It's like, why bother? So the story mode here is just not that great. It takes too long because you're farming these dumb points, and unless you torture yourself on the hardest difficulty, there's no reward of any kind when you beat it. It's just those points to unlock the next monster. So that's kind of a bummer. But don't worry, we got mini games. What was Destroy All Monsters Melee missing? It was missing a 15% injection of Mario Party. I'm not sure that anyone wanted this, but here we go. It first happens in the story mode. There's like a mini game in the middle, and the two that I experienced, one is Godzilla and one is Rodan, were just awful. There's one is Godzilla where you have to like shoot down UFOs, and the camera's locked in like third person, and it's like a really awkward third person camera. And then there's one is Rodan that was just frustrating as hell, where you're supposed to, there's 3 monsters on the map, and you have to throw them all into a force field, and you only win if each monster is in one of these pens at the same time. And remember, going back to the beginning of this episode, I said the maps are really, really big. That's an issue because the 3 pens aren't all in the same area. They're spread all over the place. This mission, it sucks. You're supposed to be able to like lead them and they follow you, but they seem to like lose interest, and I try to throw them, but you can't throw them more than like a little bit of distance. That sucked. There's other ones though. The one that I'll say I actually had some fun with is this basketball one. I never really thought that Godzilla and like shooting hoops freestyle was something that would mix together and like work out pretty well, but here we go. Godzilla competitive hoops, and you can even fight your opponents, which doesn't really make much sense. I don't remember that being a thing for basketball. Let's shoot some hoops, but like you can also just you can throw your opponents. But hey, that one's fun, I guess. There's others that I haven't seen. I didn't unlock all of them, but I looked them up. There's not much else to talk about. There's like an underwater one, and so hey, it's got mini games though. Hooray! Yay! New content. It's such a weird thing. Oh my god. Oh jeez. Last thing I'll say is the presentation of the whole game is really weak. The menu is kind of devoid of life compared to Destroy All Monsters Melee. It's like the fire aesthetic, and like the words like the Godzilla roar happens and you choose modes. It's got a nice little theme to it. But this one is like really generic. I thought there was no music, but by default, the music is actually so low that you really can't even hear it, which is just strange. So, yeah, really, really weak presentation. So that's pretty much all there is to talk about. We got more monsters, and they feel unique. We've got bigger arenas. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. It just depends on the situation. It's a bad thing for that stupid pen corral mini game, but it's a good thing for most normal situations. We got new mechanics like beam struggles, and you can like more easily escape throws when someone grabs you. It's cool stuff like that, but on the flip side, you've got weak presentation with a very generic-y kind of menu. Story mode's awful, it's too long, the emphasis on points makes it feel like a dull grind. Locking any kind of reward behind the hardest difficulty is kind of an odd design choice. Most games, it's like, yeah, you're going to get like a basic ending on easy, but then you get the true ending on 100% or harder difficulty, you know? Like, it shouldn't just be like the friggin' picture that shrinks of the alien queen. That's stupid. So, here and there, it's okay. It's not as good as Destroy All Monsters Melee. I feel like even though it's a smaller game by comparison, it's a higher quality game because there's less going on. You have a more focused little story mode. You have tighter but more alive arenas. So I think that's still the better game. On PlayStation 2, though, this is one of only two choices people have. Either it's Save the Earth or Godzilla Unleashed. And I'll say, if it's the only game you have access to, you're not going to be, like, disappointed if you're a true Godzilla fan. There's a lot to love here. I had a fun time playing as those new characters. I was laughing so hard at, like, Jet Jaguar and stuff, and the basketball minigame was surprisingly entertaining. But, yeah, all in all, it's okay. So getting to it now is kind of bittersweet. I'm pretty sure that if I played this when I was like going through that phase of loving Godzilla, I probably would have loved it so much, like I did with Destroy All Monsters Melee. So, you know, it's all right. As far as the other game left in the trilogy, Godzilla Unleashed, PlayStation 2 and Wii versions, I'm not going to get to those anytime soon. I may wait until the next Godzilla movie actually comes out, because I don't want to be doing nothing but Godzilla games for this channel. I love Godzilla, but like, nah, I don't want to go down that road. So, that'll be sometime in the future, but it is on the docket to get to. But, there we go. That was Godzilla Save the Earth. All in all, pretty alright. Not a bad visit, I must say. But, I'll see you guys on the next one. Got something new. This isn't going to be a revisit or a review of something I haven't played before. Rather, we're going to be tackling an accessory. At least, accessory is the most apt term I could really think of. It's not really a game, it's an enhancement device. Action Replay. Action Replay is the closest thing for games of this era. This would be for the GameCube. I would describe this as modding. At least that's like the term that makes the most sense when trying to describe what this thing does. So modern games, on PC at least, and some on console, you can mod them. That is to augment, change things. Simple stuff like you want to have infinite money in the game's world, or more crazy stuff like you want a game where you can fly if you're not supposed to, or even crazier stuff than that. It's just, it's just scratching the surface. And that's kind of what Action Replay does. Now, obviously, this isn't the case that it came in. It didn't even come in a case back when I bought it. It's like a little plastic container. Kind of lame. They made storing it and keeping it in good condition really difficult. But luckily, it still works. Now, this is the GameCube one, so you can see it there. It works on the Wii, though. This is the latest version that they released, the last one that they did for this generation, at least. And as far as I'm aware, there's nothing that exists for the Generation 8 consoles. This seemed to have died with the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox era. Nothing else came out afterward. But simply put, it's a cheat device. This version has preset codes. There were older versions you could add more codes to. That one's way more rare than this one is. But the benefit to this one is that it works on the Wii, which is great for the sake of capture quality, because the Wii, I can use Component, and it looks a lot better. So what I'm going to do here is show how Action Replay works, and then go through a bunch of my GameCube games and show what it does. So we're going to have some fun today. I'm looking forward to this one. So let's get started. Operating the Action Replay is no different than launching any other game on the Wii. You just stick the disc in, it reads it as a GameCube game, and you start it up. The only problem right away is that it does cause the Wii to reset probably 1 out of every 4 times that I try to use it. Sometimes more. So the Wii will do like a soft reset and then you try again. So that's unfortunate. But once you get it working, you get to launch into its own little interface, which is pretty neat. Once we get it to successfully launch, we find ourselves at the Action Replay main interface. It's like a little app that launches. There's a lot of things you can do with this. So not just cheating, but it actually supports a freeloader. So if you bought games that are not supported in the region that your system is made for, say from Japan or PAL like Europe, you can actually put them in the GameCube and launch them successfully with Action Replay. I've never tried it before, but it's definitely cool that it's there. As far as cheats go, we find ourselves looking at a giant list of like pretty much every GameCube game ever made. And what we can do is we can select one and then choose the cheats, the codes. Every game has a list of codes. There is no consistency. Some can have the usual stuff you'd expect, like infinite money or fast leveling up, whatever. But some will have really weird stuff, like messing with inventory or other things like that. The best way I can say is that they're pretty custom to whatever the game they are about. So like Animal Crossing gives us the usual stuff like infinite money or fast house upgrades, but you also have other things that mess with the inventory system, allowing you to spawn in with certain items in your inventory, have song unlock, stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Every game's a little unique. Some will have more than others too. I would say that games like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and the Metroid series definitely have like the most codes. Some will have like one or two that aren't even like really even useful. Like Super Smash Bros. Melee only has a code for getting all the trophies unlocked, like nothing else. So they're not consistent. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through these. I'll start with Metroid Prime. I feel like that's a good one to start with. We can start the game off essentially with every single upgrade in the game, just right at the beginning. Which, if you know anything about Metroid, it's all about exploring, finding items one at a time, using the new thing you just got to get to another new area and get another new thing, and then you go from there. So we can use Action Replay to just start the game off with everything unlocked. Let's check it out. Alright, I'm going to go down the list here for Metroid Prime. We're just going to turn on basically everything. I'm not going to do anything like really ridiculous like the moon jump for whatnot. I feel like that's going to be a problem. But we will do fun stuff like that later on. But we're going to start off the game with all of the primary weapons and upgrades, which will definitely give us an immediate advantage against all the enemies. You'll see a code meter at the bottom filling up. I think that has to do with how much like launch or free memory that the system has when it boots up. So maybe like you can't exceed what the console can accept. But we put them all in, and now it's time to actually initiate. So we have to take out the Action Replay disc and then put in the disc that we're going to be cheating with. You have to do this somewhat quickly, in my experience. If you don't, it actually won't launch. Although sometimes it won't launch anyway, just depends. But I got it to work here, so now we go into the game, and we can start messing around with this. As we start the game off in the first area right away, here's all of our new weapons. Got the plasma beam on the tutorial level. That's definitely fun. Looking forward to messing with this, because the cool thing about Metroid is all this stuff's going to work, even though like the enemies that exist in this point of the game, they don't know. Like, you only ever have the regular power beam and missiles, you know, you never intended to be here. But it is kind of cool though, like it does kind of work. It's like I'm looking around and like the asteroids have like an effect with the thermal and x-ray visor. Like it's pretty cool how like the whole game has got this consistent programming thing. I would have just assumed that stuff like that wouldn't have functioned at this point in the game, because those items are never intended to be in your possession at this part. But hey, pretty sweet. Let's see how fast I can beat the Parasite Queen if I have the full arsenal of the endgame on my side here. Let's get it done. Huh. The ice spreader power combo thing didn't actually do anything? The health bar isn't revealed yet because I didn't reveal it. Oh, there it is. Well, the flamethrower is consistent. Didn't kill it that fast, though. I'm a little surprised. Still going. Come on. Come on. There we go. I was expecting a bit more of a speed run out of it, but I know that you can do like a rapid fire missile thing that actually would have been faster. So in this instance, cheats aren't helping me too much, but it's still fun. Now we got to escape. I will say getting through these hallways with the boost ball is definitely a lot quicker. That's for sure. The morph ball was always like the fastest way to get through, but that's a lot better with the boost ball. That's for yeah. We're setting records here. Now here, I've had this happen before. So at this point, this little cutscene plays out. Samus gets blasted back by a huge explosion, and the Varia suit malfunctions. and you lose all your power-ups basically. Not that you're supposed to have much to begin with. You only have the charge beam, missiles, and morph ball and bombs. Nothing significant. But sometimes when I've done this, it's actually removed everything. For some reason here, though, it didn't. I still have all of the items I cheated with. But I am currently wearing the power suit. However, I morph ball, and it's the gravity suit morph ball. So I don't think the game knows what's going on right now. Now that I'm on the planet, I can browse through the logbook, and yeah, I can confirm that the game thinks that I'm wearing the power suit, but the morph ball is definitely the gravity suit version. I got the infinite morph ball bombs there. Fun. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but that's what you can expect when you're messing around with games and augmenting them. But I'm curious. I wonder if the effects of the other suits are active, because if it thinks I'm wearing the power suit, that means that I wouldn't be immune to high temperature, and I can't move around underwater freely. Also have 1,000 missiles. That's probably enough to get the job done here. But let's see if I can move around freely in water. Oh, but first, let's see what we can blast these guys away with. Ice spreader! Oh, okay, I got one. I've never done that before with the aeronautic pirate or whatever it's called. Oh man, froze him in place. He was flying. Let's see if we can go in the water though. Still have the grappling beam, all the good stuff. Yeah. So wearing the power suit, but technically wearing everything. Awesome. So action replay definitely makes Metroid Prime more fun, and despite what should be a whole bunch of instability, it seems to be running very smoothly. No problems or glitches or anything, so that's a good first start. Let's move on to other games. So, now that we have an established understanding on how action replay works, we're going to get a little more crazy with it. So Metroid Prime, you know, we did all the items and like infinite morph ball bombs, nothing too crazy, and it worked. We did have the power armor gravity suit thing, but not a big deal. It didn't cause any crashes or soft locks. We're fine. Now we're going to start to push it. So I think the next game to go over is actually one that I used action replay a lot on back when I had this, when it was like out for the first time, and that is Mario Kart Double Dash. There is a lot we can do with this one, so let's get into it. We're going to do a couple things at Mario Kart Double Dash, the first of which is a combination of extra speed, unrestricted kart selection, and purely random items. I'm also going to do the D-pad left for Star 1. I don't normally do cheats like that, but since we're doing this little revisit, I might as well try some new stuff out. But this combination of cheats makes for a pretty chaotic Mario Kart experience. Now, we can pick any character on any cart, so let's pick two regular characters, Luigi and Waluigi here, and let's put them on a tiny cart. I'm sure it'll work out fine. I don't see any problems if you don't. Looks natural to me. It's not natural. It's not good. I don't like it. Get off the screen. Get off the screen like right now. I picked the Mushroom Cup because we get to Baby Park here, and this is where it all kind of comes together with this particular cheat. I mean, items are going to be flying in every direction. First place shell, lightning bolts, triple turtle shells are coming from everywhere, because when you have purely random items, it also includes the special stuff, because every character in this game can get special items. Like just there, I got the triple red shells, which are unique to the Koopas, and the Chain Chomp, which is supposed to be unique to the babies. So any position, any item makes for one of the most entertaining Mario Kart experiences you'll ever have. Now the problem with the extra speed cheat is that you're always maxed out, and when you get a star or a mushroom or any kind of boost like that, you actually lose speed. So you ironically don't want to get those boost items because you don't go as fast. Very interesting trade-off, and as I learned here, even though I didn't press the D-pad for the star acquisition, It makes stars last indefinitely, which puts you at a disadvantage since you're going a little bit slower. Yeah, but I mean, I'm cheating, so what can I expect? It's not always going to work out. But it is an interesting side effect of using these cheats. All in all, though, purely random items alone makes for a fantastic Mario Kart experience that I can't recommend enough if you can try this out. It's so great. For our next foray into Mario Kart here, we're going to allow only a single item to spawn, and that is the blue shell. So, no matter what position you're in, the only item you can possibly roll for is the spiny first place shell. Only spiny shells. Ooh, I'm sure this won't go wrong immediately out of the gate. Nope, there's the first volley. They don't even hesitate. No regard for friendly fire. The CPU characters will fire that thing as soon as they're holding it in their hand, regardless of what position they are actually in. If they're in first place and they get the spiny shell, they will throw it at themselves. They just launch it. I mean, look at this nonsense. Like 4 in a row, like it's great. Dude, I love it. Now, since only one blue shell is allowed to spawn at a given time, that means that if you get it, you can just hold on to it. There's no reason not to, and that means that you're holding the insurance against being passed. So no one would possibly dare to pass you. At least a human opponent wouldn't. They'd be too frightened to get blown up immediately, or they'd try to just get right next to you. So if you play this with friends, it is a fun mode to mess around with, but I recommend setting up some kind of ground rule where if you get it, you gotta throw it no matter what place you're in, because there's a chance you won't get it since only one can spawn at a time. But still, another fun mode to play around with for sure. I should have known. Action Replay is too much for a single episode. So we will continue this on part 2 of revisiting Action Replay. To give you an idea of what we're looking forward to, just... The majesty. It looks so good and natural. We're gonna get nuts next time, that's for sure. Star Fox Adventures, Kirby's Air Ride, F-Zero GX, Animal Crossing, we're gonna get them all. And unlike today, things aren't gonna go as smoothly, because I made an effort to pick games that I know work with Action Replay to show off what it does and how it works, how you launch it and choose the codes. And granted, I didn't show like every time you saw me playing a game, like that involved having the console reset like once or twice, and like they would fail to actually initiate the game once the disc thing swap happened. I mean, it happens a lot, probably 1 every 3 times. And like when I would load into Mario Kart Double Dash and do purely random items, I would have to reset the game, put in Action Replay again, do the only blue spiny shell thing, do the disc swap. It might not work, reset. So I'm not showing that part of it. Just bear in mind that it happens. It's not a smooth process, but when I got them to load, everything ran smooth. We're going to be getting into some pretty nutty stuff with the games next time around. So I will see you on part 2. Hey, I'm Mike with Retro Boost. Thank you for everything. This is my 50th upload. For all those watching, I really appreciate you tuning in. This has been a big project of mine, working on this show. It's been a ton of fun. I've enjoyed really being able to take my passion for video games and my passion for film and bring them together and have my own YouTube channel. I can't believe that I'm already at 50 uploads. I wanted to make sure that I was able to control which one ended up being the 50th, which is why I did this like kind of marathon thing with my Just Playing series, because I wanted to be able to call it out to once again say thank you for watching. Here's to 50 more. Let's get on with the show. Welcome back. Last time, we took a journey into the world of action replay. I showed off how it worked, did some cheats with Metroid Prime and Mario Kart Double Dash. Definitely had some odd moments, that's for sure, but everything worked fine. It's stable, as I would say. Now we're going to continue the journey. We're going to go through many of my other GameCube games and start to do some of the crazier stuff, or just see what it's capable of, that's for sure. And we'll see how stable every game can be with certain cheats, because like Mario Kart and Metroid Prime take it pretty well, but what'll happen with the others? Let's get into it. The first one we'll highlight is Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is the kind of game that has a lot of cheats we can mess around with. You have the expected stuff, like infinite money or max money in inventory, etc. Make yourself a millionaire if you want. But there's also other things we can do, like have the museum be completed, get all the golden items. So basically just have 100% completion in all the categories of the game, have whatever furniture you want from the catalog, etc., etc. Some of the cooler things, though, we can have all the mortgage payments on house upgrades only cost a single bell. That's pretty sweet. We can also have fast Nook upgrades, which means you go to Nook's shop, you buy one thing, and then the next day he upgrades the store, which would take a lot longer than that. But that's all simple stuff. I mean, what else we got here? We got jump and like changing size. Jumping in Animal Crossing, huh? What's that look like? Looks like it's supposed to be there. What can I say? Changing size. Things looking good here. How about we go back in the house? Whoa! Okay. Well, the game didn't like any of that. Apparently, you're too big for your house, and we've opened up the Void Realm. It's raining here. Alright, so that's what happens when you mess around a little too much. Next game. And I know what we're all thinking now. We got all of our money with Animal Crossing, now we want to go fast. Those 2 points aren't related at all, I know, I'm sorry. I just want to go fast now. Let's check out some racing games. We already got Mario Kart Double Dash out of the way, but what else do I got here? I got F-Zero GX. Let's check out this. Well, this one's pretty standard, infinite health and whatnot, the usual assortment of cheats, but we've also got infinite energy. Infinite energy for F-Zero means infinite turbo boost speed. We can pretty much just maintain maximum speed. Now, this is pretty fun, but one issue I noticed right away is that it seems like all of the other racers on the track also have infinite energy. So everyone's pretty much just boosting constantly. Everyone's going maximum, baby. And that doesn't give me much of an advantage if we're all the same. I just took a game that involves skill and kind of removed the skill, but everyone's using boost. So no advantage here. That's unfortunate, but handy for the story mode, I guess, if you were struggling with it. But it doesn't do much for us in the main campaign. Let's check out a different racing game. We've also got Kirby Air Ride. This one also offers us the potential for going fast. We can hold the Z button to engage it's called the Rowdy Charge tank. Basically, all the air ride machines go like hyper out of control. And I've got it now on a toggle. Yay! So we can definitely smash some lap records. Much like F-Zero, this also causes the AI opponents to also respond to it. So when I press the Z button to make them go, everyone's going insane speeds. Super fun, and definitely a good way to ambush a friend of yours if you were going to say, let's play Kirby Air Ride together. You could definitely do some damage there. However, one really odd side effect. You can toggle the Rowdy Charge tank even during the replay of the race. Yeah, the replay is happening in-engine. This isn't like a recorded cutscene. You can have it fire off. I thought that it was just a coincidence, but I keep pressing it and it's responding whenever I press it. So it's not really a replay at all, is it, at this point? It's a whole different race with just computer opponents that I'm like the puppet master of, free to just keep hitting the button and messing with it. But hey, F-Zero GX and Kirby Air Ride, they both work like normal. I can't say there's any issues with stability or crashes or anything, unlike Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing, the second that we tried to do anything a little nuts, it just kind of like seized up and it died. So this one, both of these racing games work fine, definitely fun. Let's move on. We're gonna go right from racing to sports. Let's check out Mario Power Tennis. Now, all the cheats here are pretty much like, you just win. Press this button to win, 1 point wins, etc. But there is one that looks pretty funny. Opponent can't move. In a tennis game, not being able to move would be quite devastating. Let's see how this plays out, but just to steer the odds a little bit in the opponent's favor, I'll choose one of the larger characters, Petey Piranha here. Match begin. Yeah, as expected, I have a clear advantage here. I mean, he's trying. He's like stuck to the floor and he's desperately going for it every time he can, but I have the clear advantage. So that's kind of handy, I guess. Opponent, I would assume that really refers to player 2, so you could probably also prank a friend with this potentially. I'm not really sure. There's no friends around. Bob's been MIA for a long time. He went on like a vacation and just never came back, so who knows what's going on with that, but I don't have anyone to test this on. But that'd be my theory. So, Mario Power Tennis, pretty fun. How about Mario Superstar Baseball? Now, Mario Superstar Baseball has a lot of the same stuff that Power Tennis does, in the sense that you can just press buttons to mess with the score and change statistics. But the interesting thing about this is that baseball, having strikes and outs and balls and whatnot, there's a little more we can mess with in the game, more than just one hit wins. So I gotta like write down the commands to this. It's kind of nuts. Hold this button, press the D-pad. We can basically mess with the game's counters for strikes, outs, and balls. So let's see what we can do with this. So, all right. If I'm about to get my third strike, I can just reset the counter, and now I have no strikes, right? Here it comes. Whoa. You gonna come back? You gonna come back? We're just letting Luigi take practice swings? What is happening? What is happening? Okay, out. Wow. So it seems that the game is counting strikes in the background separate of what that counter actually says, because it knew that was the true third strike, regardless of what the statistics were talking about. Weird. So can't really cheat that much, really. You could probably just... No, you can't. You're screwed there. You can control the number of outs, I guess. The game doesn't really know how to track that, but you can't swing the bat indefinitely. That doesn't work. I tried to cheat. There's still commands though to make the score just like explode, so you can just win no matter what. So I'm the winner here. Me. I have all the baseball skills. Okay, next game. Now we're going to go into the wonderful world of adventure games, the first of which will be Mario Sunshine. Now here, there's really only one cheat that's really interesting, and that's infinite water. Now, what does that mean? If you've played Mario Sunshine before, it's a game with Mario, it's a platformer, you have this water tool. It works as a jetpack, it works as a hose, but with infinite water, it means that when I press the R button to spray, or to hover, either way, it never runs out, it won't stop, even if the game thinks it should. It just keeps on going, so we can fly with the jetpack indefinitely, we can spray indefinitely. Pretty sweet. It's got me curious though. If the water jetpack hover feature works indefinitely, what happens if I use the rocket nozzle? Let's charge it up. Wow. I think we just sent Mario to space. I mean, we passed the sun, right? I think I saw that happen. I wonder if it can get down. I wonder if it's just like we're in like broken void zone, or if he's gonna come back. Ground pound, and we'll check back on that, I guess. Let's move on to another adventure game. Next up, we got Star Fox Adventures. This is a game that I do plan on definitely doing a revisit episode for, but for now we can just mess around with it. There are a couple of pretty interesting ideas here. We got the moon jump. Now this is something that I could have done with Metroid Prime, but chose not to. Moon jump is you hold one button, in this case it's B, and you just kind of fly away. Now, in a game like Star Fox Adventures, which is a lot like Legend of Zelda, a game that doesn't have a button for jumping, this could really break some stuff pretty seriously. We can do some pretty significant sequence breaking. However, unlike Metroid Prime or even Legend of Zelda, where sequence breaking is kind of normal and almost intentional in the sense that you can go wherever you want in the world, that is not the case for Star Fox Adventures. This game does not like it if you attempt to sequence break. Case in point, right from the get-go of the game, I can just head over here, we can jump across this gap, we are definitely not supposed to be here at this point in the game, and oh dear, the game does not want to show me what's loaded, but we can try to go out there, I guess. Ooh, frozen in time. Yeah, okay, so that didn't work out so well. Let's reset, try it again. Let's just be legit this time. I'll follow the game's intended course of action, and we'll just use the moon jump wherever to make it easier. So now we get to this part, and you're supposed to get in this big bike race with these two guys, and you save this little guy. He's really annoying, you save him. But why even do the race? I can jump. We'll just jump over this barricade and we'll just walk the distance. Just walk the track. How long? It's taking a while. Oh, well, this is, how's Mario Sunshine looking, actually? Still going. All right. Still walking here. All right, there's the end. I can just jump down. I gotta be honest, I expected a cutscene to play here. It's supposed to play a cutscene here. It didn't though, because the game is like, jet bike not present, no cutscene for you. So we jump down, keep going. I'm also supposed to have Tricky. He's like a companion in this game. Don't have my partner, so try to move forward, I guess. Oh, it's the void space again. Frozen, captured. Okay. Try it all one more time. This time I'll do the race. Did the race. Get Tricky. Got Tricky. You're supposed to do a whole bunch of stuff with Tricky. He teaches you how his commands work, but I don't want to do that. Let's just jump across the pit. Don't need the pit. Jump over the tunnel. Don't have to have him dig the tunnel. Void space is back. Alright, I'll go back, I guess. I'll go back, get the mushroom. Kind of weird. It's procking for the tutorials again, but not really. Can't really feed him correctly. The whole game's just busted now. So, like I said before, you know, with Legend of Zelda or Metroid, you know, you could skip around and go places the game functions. Star Fox, man, the second that you're out of line, it's just a broken mess. The game is no longer functional, even if you try to play it the right way. At this point, I've already gone. I did A and I did B, but I skipped C and D, and I went back. I did B again, and I came back to G, and there's no I. It's just so. Yeah, Star Fox Adventures, as far as cheats go, if you do like infinite health and infinite like staff magic, you'll have fun. But you try anything else, and man, are you in trouble. How is Mario doing? Still falling. Okay. Let's move on to our grand finale here. The one that I was looking forward to most, messing around with, going nuts with the action replay codes on. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on GameCube. There are a lot of cheats for Ocarina of Time. We could start the game off with like every single item equipped. We could run fast. We got the moon jump from Star Fox. Yay. And there's also bonus things like changing your tunic's color or being able to change your size. Ooh. And there's also some other ones I haven't seen before. I want to try these first. Super Animated Link and Matrix Link. What the hell? Alright, Super Animated. Let's go. Ooh, he's like fast. Oh gosh, look at those moves! Slashing and moving and slashing, and I'm running fast, but it's not hitting anything. I'm only taking damage here. And I'm dead. Okay, let's just skip those guys, I guess. We'll go right into the Deku Tree. Attacking the thing. Attack the thing. I'm gonna try to attack him slower. Yeah, okay. So, Super Animated Link. You're moving like a maniac, but I guess it's just not doing any damage, so let's forget that one. Slow-mo Link. It makes all of his like miscellaneous animations play really, really slowly. We can walk around normally, thank the heavens, but anything else, he just goes really slow. Let's go in this tunnel here and get the Kokiri sword. Oh, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And we're stuck. Okay, Slow-mo Link has died inside of the log tunnel from being too slow. His heart just gave out. Low blood pressure. So both of those suck. Let's just start it again, and we'll do new game, and we'll do jumping, we'll do super fast running, and we'll have change size just for kicks and giggles. But let's do a new game with those things. Well, having the ability to jump in Zelda, as predicted, kind of destroys everything. But unlike Star Fox, the game continues to function. So I can just skip around in the Deku Tree dungeon, just go right from the start and climb up and fall, and I can just jump over this gap and get the fire stick and go down here, and in less than 5 minutes I'm already at the boss fight. The only thing I had to make sure to do is get the slingshot. I decided not to spawn in with every item in the game. I wanted to see how fast I could complete a dungeon with the ability to jump, and the answer is quite fast. We do the boss fight, we finish it, cool. Alright, time to cross Hyrule Field. Man, how many people were annoyed when you run across and it becomes nighttime and you're stuck? Well, problem solved, because we can just go fast, baby. The really weird thing is that you have to assign the run fast button and the jump button. Both are already used by the game to use items with the C-stick, essentially. It's like the quick assign. So whenever I start to run, it's a Deku nut that just he'll disappear like a ninja. Not all items will work that. That's the best one that I got. If you run out of them, I guess it'd be great because it's an empty item slot. You just go. But here we go. We get to Hyrule Town. Record time. Still morning because Link has powers of the Speed Force, and now we're here. How does sneaking into the castle work? Can I just like run right over all of them? we're in. Now the harder part, I assume, we have to go through the courtyard, but again, we just go like, we just zip through. Gotta be careful though, but here we go. Yep, alright, just over all of it. I think I may have gone too far. Oh dear. Let's try that all again. Victory achieved. And now we find ourselves in the courtyard center where Zelda is. You know, one thing about this game, just like a minor critique, you can't like skip through dialogue, which is like a thing that like every game on Earth lets you do pretty much. So playing it for the first time, it's cool because it's a very story-driven, I guess. It's got a lot of narrative to it. It's cool, but like, man, with the ability to like run like the Flash and jump over buildings, it's like a real like grind to sit here and be like, yep, yep, the three spirits, yep, the three spirits. I know, Ganondorf for you, yep. We're just kind of waiting for Zelda to finish talking. Just what? I'm paying attention. You can see I'm maintaining eye contact. Clearly, I'm interested. I'm vested in your plight. God, some people these days. Wow. Ocarina of Time, super fun with action replay. There's so much you can do with it. Little things like being able to change your tunic's color is fun in itself, but like being able to run and jump, or even just forgetting all that and just like doing the game New Game Plus style and starting with every item in the game in your inventory. I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. Super fun. What was I? Was I forgetting something? Oh yeah, Mario Sunshine. Let's see what's going on with Mario. Oh my gosh, it's the island. It's real. Mario's back from space. Now he's a dangerous stellar object on a collision course. Yay! I super did not think that this was going to be a possibility. I've done this before. I've sent Mario into orbit with this cheat, and I just assumed that the game was a loss and I reset. This time I was curious. I wanted to see if you could actually come back down. And here it comes. Here comes the island. I think it's pretty cool that you can also see like other locations in the game. Like you can see that Gelato Beach is over there, another level in the game. It's kind of cool that all of it's visible from every point on the map. But here we come, and coming in for a landing. Okay. We're back. Only logical thing to do is to do it again. But this time I'm not gonna let go of it. So I'm gonna charge it up, send him off. Wow, there he goes. Still going, still going, still going. The camera like cannot keep up. The sun, we passed the sun. That was pretty intense. So we've gone to the other side of the solar system at this point. And the journey starts all over again. When I did it the first time, I let go after like, I don't know, less than 3 seconds. I held it for way longer this time. He's probably never gonna come back. There we go. Bye-bye, Mario. Thanks for your sacrifice. Cool. There we have it then. Well, that was certainly a journey. All the games, they respond differently to action replay. Some run better than others. Some it's just, you just can't even try. Like Star Fox Adventures was a broken mess of mayhem from the get-go, but Legend of Zelda, with the same kind of cheats, functions perfectly fine. So some games are more restrictive than others. They respond better. Pretty cool thing. Action replay is a cool little device. It just became like outdated with the concept of modding. So that's what you have now. You don't have to buy a product to do it anymore. You just download a mod and do the same thing to your game, and you have the same level of effectiveness. Some games will respond better to it, some mods are more risky and they could risk crashing or worse. If it's a networked game, you could risk being banned, you know? These are simpler times. But Action Replay is a cool product. There's stuff that predates it, like Game Genie and Game Shark, but nothing really came after this generation. Action Replay just kind of fell off the map. They did do some additional products for the Nintendo DS and 3DS. They're called Power Saves. But they didn't do anything for Xbox 360 or PS3, or even the Wii, really. That model Action Replay is for GameCube, but it works in a Wii system. So once we got to Generation 7, I guess, it's when everything kind of just fell away and it became a thing of the past. But super fun to revisit, obviously. Had a lot of fun there. Thanks again for watching. This was the 50th upload special. I'm always going to call out the milestones. This is the 9th revisit episode, but 50th upload for the channel as a whole. I got more going on these days. We got the revisit episodes like this. I've got Let's Play content with the Just Playing series. It's just me playing games. And there's more coming down the line. So make sure to subscribe to get notifications. And thank you so much for watching. Here's to 50 more. Ooh, all right. December. Boy, has time flown by. It's been a long time since my last review. I think it was like the end of October. I apologize. I've been working on a lot of stuff with my setup here to improve it so that 2021 will be even better for all future content that I produce on this channel. But now that it's December, you know, it's that time of the year. I am just fit to burst with holiday spirit. Before we get into what we're doing today, this needs to be changed. I can't do it with this on, so let's make a quick adjustment. So what, this? Just a minor symbol for my enthusiasm for the holidays. Well, now that I'm sufficiently dressed for the occasion, what to actually play? I didn't really think this far ahead. What's that?
I'm Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? It's a true holiday present. There's nothing more Christmas themed than Spider-Man, right? I mean, he's like the symbol of that. Red. Did you bring me something there, it looks like?
Pizza time.
Oh, well, how awesome is this?
You got the moves. I was late for work and Dr. Connors fired me.
Okay, alright. Well, guess I got my present here. Let's check it out. Spider-Man for the N64. I have some memories about this game. I don't know if I ever beat it, but I definitely remember playing it a lot. So, alright, let's revisit Spider-Man for N64. Alright, now some of you may be wondering what the heck's going on here with the holiday thing and all this and Spider-Man. Don't ask questions. You think I have the answers to those questions? No. All I know is I'm trying to celebrate the holidays here. And Spider-Man just showed up. He's gone now. He gave me the game and made an exodus. Can he get back in? Do we know? I don't even know if he even left, to be honest, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, Spider-Man for N64. The first thing I want to get across is that this game was developed by Neversoft, the same people who developed Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, a game with a huge, long-lasting legacy that made skateboarding and Tony Hawk himself household known things. They were so famous. especially amongst non-skateboarding groups. It really brought people in. So those same people made Spider-Man. Neversoft also being known for having one of the most family-friendly and holiday-themed, if I might add, introduction logo sequences out of any game company ever. I mean, happy holidays, right? I mean, I may have added some extra holiday gusto to that, I won't lie, but I mean, it didn't need much enhancement to be cheerful and merry. Okay, that doesn't play in this game. That logo is from Tony Hawk's Underground, one of my favorite games ever. Neversoft is a company that I really love, and I don't think I've ever played a game of theirs that I didn't like. And this is one of the many that's part of their legacy. It's definitely one of their labors of love. Spider-Man for N64. It's not called Spider-Man 64. The game is just called Spider-Man. Commonly, obviously, it's given the title of Spider-Man 64. That's how you name N64 games. Go figure. It was also on PlayStation 1. But this is a fairly standard action game. You take control of Spider-Man, you navigate through linear levels, you have boss battles against a lot of Spider-Man's famous foes, such as Venom and Rhino, Scorpion, Mysterio. They're all here as well. It's pretty cool. This game's a little nostalgic to me. I did remember playing it extensively, at least the first 2 levels when I was younger. So let's see, how is this game going to hold up in an era of really great Spider-Man games? Because Spider-Man definitely took a dip for a while there, but then came back pretty strong in the past couple of years. The Amazing Spider-Man movie games were like pretty okay, like they were fun in my opinion at least. But that new one for PlayStation 4 and 5 is pretty spectacular. So how is this one gonna hold up? One of the first, if not the first, 3D Spider-Man games. Well, let's get into it. Let's start out with the story. What's going on here? So the game starts off with this cutscene here made up of stills, stylized like a comic book. The story begins at a tech expo of sorts with Dr. Octopus, now supposedly reformed. Let's just like pause right there. This is like a thing that happens in a lot of comic book stories. The supervillains reform themselves and say, hey, you know, I'm not gonna be evil anymore. And it's like, okay, you're still gonna go to prison for all the things you did though, right? Well, apparently not. If they make promises to help out places, it's all sins are forgiven. They pretty much did that in that Fantastic Four sequel movie. Dr. Doom's just like, I'm sorry, what can I say? It was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to try to kill all of you. It's whatever. Victor Von Doom. So here we got Dr. Octavius. He's just like, yeah, what up? I'm just here to help. It's fine. So yeah, all right, cool. And then, oh no, Spider-Man steals the plot thing. But it can't be the Spider-Man because the Spider-Man's in the crowd as Peter. Also, Venom's there. So just like the most convenient cast of people are present for this event. So now the world thinks that Spider-Man is 100% a criminal that needs to be, you know, arrested and dealt with without asking any questions at all. So Spider-Man's on the run from the law. As the game begins, we get a bunch of tutorial stuff here with Black Cat. It ain't a Spider-Man game without Black Cat showing up at some point. It is worth noting the Black Cat is voiced by none other than Jennifer Hale, who voiced Samus in the Metroid Prime games, and also, and more importantly, the female Shepard in the Mass Effect trilogy. So, amongst other things, I mean, she's like Troy Baker. She's in like so many things gaming-wise, you'd be blown away the list that she has to her credits. But here she is. With that said, a lot of the voices in this game come from people who have acted in Spider-Man TV shows of the time. It's a mixture of the cast from, not all the cast, it's a mixture of some people from the Spider-Man TV show from 1994, which is actually pretty good, and Spider-Man Unlimited, which is where this Spider-Man's voice comes from. So that's pretty cool, that they got the voices of people that voice these characters in, like, official adaptations outside of video games. That's pretty sweet. But here we go, the game is now beginning, the tutorial starts. As we move through the tutorial, we start to learn more of what Spider-Man can do in this game. Pretty standard action game setup. We can jump around, we can web swing between buildings, we can punch, we can kick, we can shoot web. So all the basic necessities are there, and it all feels pretty good, to be honest. Wall crawling also works pretty well. It's not disorienting or confusing. It's pretty slow, but that lends itself to more accuracy. To be honest, I kind of like that angle of it. Spider Sense is pretty wacky though. When it goes off, it's just like the whole screen shaking, changing colors like a disco rainbow party. And it isn't like warning you specifically of like something happening to you. It's just warning you, hey, there are armed guards ahead. Be prepared. But the effect is like so dramatic. You're like, what? What's happening? What? And it's nothing specific. So that's a little overdone, but not terrible. At least it's there. They're finding a way to implement all the traits of the character, which is cool. Now we find ourselves at the first real level of the game. The tutorial's done with. This level I have a pretty vivid memory of, this bank sequence here. We have to navigate through this bank, and we gotta take out the robbers before they are alerted to your presence, thus saving the hostages. And you know, when I'm messing around with this, and I'm thinking, stealth thing here is pretty cool. It's such a weird thing. I just like can't picture Spider-Man and like tactical espionage being linked on account of just who his character is. He's red and blue spandex, leaping all around, shooting, webbing everywhere, spouting one-liners. Not a character that I associate being a ninja.
Mind if I drop in?
But his powers and abilities do lend itself to that. So, and especially with the controls of the game too. So being able to hit one button and zip right up to the ceiling is awesome. Don't have to worry about using web swings or wall crawling tediously. It's a very good idea. You can very easily attack from the ceiling, both webs and just strikes. Again, works very well, very thoughtfully designed and well executed. Stealth sequences are also present in the newer games as well. I remember them in Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I did one of them in the PlayStation 4/5 one by Insomniac. So they've all kept up the tradition. It's an odd tradition, but one that I definitely welcome. As we get to the end of this level, the objective becomes getting rid of this bomb, which the bank robbers have set. And only thing that we can do is act fast and throw it inside the bank vault. Problem solved. No need to disarm it. Just let it go off and destroy all of those valuables. I mean, Spider-Man's not worried about covering the costs, so who cares? No consequences, right? Issue solved. Shortly after the bank heist is done, we get our first encounter with another supervillain from Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery, and it's Scorpion. This is the first major boss battle, really, and this is where I also noticed that there's no block button. There's also no like evade button either. You can jump out of the way of hits and whatnot, but there's no counter or block or like sidestep or any kind of evasion tactic that you have at your disposal. But first I started to really notice this because I'm going to go in here, I'm going to whack him a couple times, and boom, he just sends me to the floor like a boxing partner. I'm just down immediately. Just got slugged in the face. It's really weird. So I favor a hit and run tactic here because I can't stand there and fight him. I have no answer for his counterattack. And it isn't that big of a deal. I mean, Scorpion's not too difficult, but not being able to block or reliably quickly get out of the way after you're done punching is kind of an issue. That's definitely a problem because it makes this a little artificially harder than it should be, since I'm missing a couple of moves that are pretty mainstay nowadays. But I mean, that's the thing about older games, you know, certain mechanics evolve over time. The Batman Arkham series definitely made the go-to formula for games of this genre, free flow beat-em-ups, adventure game type things, because in Batman Arkham Asylum and forward, you got strikes, you got counters, you got stuns, you have evasion. It's all there, and it works very well. So here we have the punches, we got the kicks, we got the jumps, but we don't have anything else. It just leaves you getting whacked to the ground as soon as you're done getting your punches in. It's easy to forget what's going on in the story here because we've had this bank heist, we went right to fighting Scorpion and saving Jonah Jameson from him, but Spider-Man's a wanted man in the story here. He got framed for stealing the technology MacGuffin thing from Dr. Octopus in the beginning of the game. So we have a level here, we have to run from the police, and this level's pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. Fast-paced, running, swinging between buildings, it's pretty great. But like the police, Spider-Man's wanted, and naturally, when you go to arrest somebody, you bring out your attack helicopter with missiles and machine guns on the bottom, you know, to capture someone with incendiary explosives.
After the wrong guy!
I forgot to mention this earlier. Most of the levels begin with narration by none other than Stan Lee. And I think that's pretty cool because he really plays it up. He's really giving it his all. It's very contagious, his energy. Here's a couple of examples.
Welcome, true believers and newcomers alike. Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here. Once again, we find our hero Peter Parker, better known around the world as the Amazing Spider-Man, in a heap of trouble. But this is just the beginning, Spidey fans. So get ready for a true superhero action thriller, packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, more supervillains than you can shake a web at, and of course, non-stop web-slinging, wall-crawling action. Oh boy, Spidey fans, Black Cat is out. Rhino's looking to take Spidey down as well. But fortunately for the web-slinger, Rhino's only got one crack mind.
I love it. It's pretty great. He really makes it seem like it's like an action serial or something. It opens up and there's like this text, will the hero prevail? Oh, come back next week. It gives it that kind of vibe, and I think it's pretty great. But we have our fight with Rhino here, and I gotta say, Rhino has put on his best holiday face for sure. I mean, that's a face that everyone could easily love and not misunderstand at all for being a bad guy. The Rhino fight's a lot different than Scorpion, though. And again, this is where it's like having an evade or a block would be pretty cool, because all I can do is jump. You just have to bait him into bashing his head against objects in the level. It's not too hard, but since all I can do is jump, and the jump itself isn't all that powerful, you know, you can get hit accidentally all the time. But it's not too hard. I had to really resist the urge to punch and kick him. That's not the solution here. You gotta bait him into crashing into stuff, but not difficult. Definitely different, and I appreciate the variety. I think that's a good move. The Scorpion fight was more fisticuffs. This one's more baiting, avoiding, and like leading your opponent into traps. So far, I'm digging the variety. I wish there was a better way to evade or block or counter or something, or utilize webbing more, because that's de-emphasized in certain fights. You could web up Scorpion, but it doesn't really work that well against Rhino, so But alright, what's next? With Rhino defeated, we move pretty quickly into having to chase after Venom. So Venom has kidnapped Mary Jane Watson, and we now have to pursue him to his hideout to rescue her. We must pursue Venom, but keep within a suitable distance, otherwise he escapes. This is where the web swinging mechanics start to show a little bit of their age. Since you're limited to 2 swings and you gradually descend as you swing, you gotta be really careful about where you aim your landings, because it's pretty easy to miscalculate, land too low in a building, it takes too long to climb up, and Venom escapes, and that's super frustrating. Later games that would come out have the ability to do a thing called a web zip, where you quickly scale up the side of the building, and that's a great idea. So an issue that was fixed afterward, but definitely a pain point here. The thing that really drives me nuts is that when you lose and start over, there's this one sequence that plays out that you can't skip. So here it is.
Look out, lady.
Oh my goodness!
Out of my way, nerd. Watch that first step, Mark. It's a doozy.
Oh, toe, ow. Oh, toe, ow.
Oh, sorry, lady. Didn't see a thing.
Okay, so I failed, and now we start over, but I have to watch that again, and that sucks, because I get halfway through this chase sequence, and there's a part where all I can really do is just sit here and wait, and that has to repeat. I've failed this mission like 4 times now. Ugh, and it's all because of the web swing. I get the wrong spot, or I make a little tiny mistake and he gets away. Jeez, it's a little frustrating.
Gotta keep moving.
No! Ow, again! Oh, start over.
Look out, lady.
Here comes the chase thing again. Excuse me, madam, whatever. It's in the shower. Is it an apartment building or an office building or what? I really want to be able to skip this. They shouldn't make you sit through this. It was funny the first time, but not the 28th time. Good lord. Alright. Alright, here we go. Finally, I beat the... Yes. Okay. Did it. Now that I finally beat the stupid chase mission, 8 attempts something later, now we actually have to fight Venom. Now, right away, the problem I have, a lot of the same issues with the Scorpion boss battle are happening here in full force. I go in to hit him and I get immediately counterattacked. I'm not sure what to do here. This cutscene that plays when the battle starts, Spider-Man does this move where he makes webbing on his hands. I guess it's like web brass knuckles. Doesn't really make any sense at all. Wouldn't it make his hands like softer and sticky? But that implies I'm supposed to punch Venom, and that isn't working. I go in to hit him, I get immediately slammed back down to the ground. And I can't even see him coming half the time because the camera's not centered on Venom like it was in the Scorpion boss battle. And the Rhino one, for that matter. They both kept the camera between me and the opponent. It's not happening here because he sneaks all around. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. And when you lose the armor power-up that I got during the chase sequence. I had more health coming into this because of that power-up that now I don't have because I had to restart the fight. And I'm going through, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I'm just getting beat down. Oh! Come on. Oh, jeez! I can't do it. I can't do it. It was so much fun, and now it's just a wall that I cannot climb over. I'm out of holiday cheer. Make the best of it. Happy holiday. Whatever. Can't beat the N64 game. Might as well pick these cookies, am I right? Why are you throwing me in my moment of weakness? Okay. I walked away. I had a bit of an episode. Let's just try it again. Whoa! Spider-Man some more? How unexpected.
Up and away with!
Had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cramps.
What move is that? You like shoot like projectiles down? Look how much damage that does. What the? Yeah, you're the. I don't want that back. You're the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, so that's coming out of your body. Oh, thanks. Thank you though for beating the level, I guess.
Shazam! Go, Web, go!
Thank you, Spider-Man. All right. Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen. What can I say? Wow. Alright, so I've been playing this game wrong, apparently. Look how easy that is once you just use that web ball technique. It destroyed him, like, instantly. I guess I gotta consult the manual here or something, learn about these moves I'm not even aware of. Because, yeah, there's a handful of web moves. You got the web brass knuckle thing, which increases your physical attack damage. There's the web projectiles that do pretty significant damage to bosses like Venom, it looks like. And then there's the web dome explosion thing. And these are all done in conjunction with the control stick and the C stick, or the C buttons stick. GameCube habit there. So, okay, there's moves I haven't been using up to this point, so we can chalk the Venom boss thing up to me just being ignorant of the controls, but now that I got it, I'm dangerous. Alright, now we can continue here. So, now that I'm older and wiser to the controls, what is next? After defeating the first Venom boss encounter, we have another really cool sequence here on this moving train as we fight these lizard monsters. This is another thing I remember from playing this when I was younger, so I guess I got farther than I realized when I was a kid, because I definitely remember this sequence here, and this is pretty fun. The game is fun again. Beating up these monsters on this train ride. What follows next is a fairly kind of standard middle-of-the-road sequence. It's not that great. It's like a sewer level. Like, I mean, how fun are sewer levels in any game? I mean, come on, it's the sewers. Limited appeal. But it ends with another encounter with Venom, and now that I got the pro strats down of just using this projectile move here, it's pretty easy, to be honest. You have to save Mary Jane though. She's like on this chain, and the water fills up, so you gotta battle Venom for hitting the switches. You don't want to mess it up, otherwise she goes under. Not the ideal holiday ending scenario there. But, you know, it's not hard once you know that you can just use these web balls and make quick work of them. So, hey, Venom defeated. Now we find ourselves in the last third of the game, and there's one constant theme that starts here and never lets up, and that's the one type of enemy that you typically encounter in levels. These symbiote monsters. These things are terrible, and I hate them so much. They take so much damage in punches and kicks, and you're guaranteed to get counterattacked in the middle of all that. The only way you can beat them clean is if you use the web brass knuckle power-up thing and go at them, but even then you're still gonna get hit here and there. So honestly, I just try to avoid them, and that's not fun, just running through levels past enemies, not even giving a care in the world. But what choice do I have? They're like ridiculously tough. They have way too much health, and they deal way too much damage back to you, and there's rarely any health pickups in the levels at this point. It's just a tedious nightmare. This one elevator portion here, oh, it's just terrible, and I legitimately hate it. Now the game is frustrating again. It has such peaks and valleys out of nowhere. Man, that bank level was so much fun, and the chase after that, the scorpion fight, the cop chase. Man, I was having the time of my life, and then Venom boss battle came out of nowhere, and then the sewer was okay, it was better, and then we're back to this frustrating nonsense again. These symbiotes are terrible, these levels with them are terrible, and I just can't stand it. All I want to do is get past them as fast as possible and keep going and hope that it gets better. After running past all the symbiotes non-stop, exclusively, never fighting them once, ever, we get to the imposter Spider-Man. Who could it possibly be? Mysterio! Cheeky man, you silly guy. And now we have a boss battle against a kaiju-sized Mysterio. This kind of confuses me because isn't his whole thing that he's like a special effects technician and it's all like illusions and fakery, but like what, he built like a giant 3-story mechanical version of himself or something, like a Mysterio Gundam? Like, what the heck is this? Okay, now this is where the game goes from frustratingly difficult to pretty forgiving. Weird. This Mysterio boss fight, unlike every other boss fight thus far, has health pickups just everywhere. As long as you're not being completely suicidal, you'll never lose a life here. There's health pickups constantly respawning. It's incredibly forgiving. So I don't know what's going on with the balance of this game's difficulty, but when you get about 40% into the game and that Venom chase scene starts, all of a sudden we're just having extreme highs in difficulty, and then it dipped a little bit for the sewer segment, and then it stayed dipped, and then it just like ramped up to 11 for the symbiote nonsense, the office, the elevator, the basement, just running past enemies. It's incredibly difficult, and now we're back down again. This Mysterio fight's a joke. It's fun. I think the music's actually pretty good, and it's a fun, entertaining boss fight. It's very different. Again, to give the game credit, all the boss fights have been pretty unique from each other thus far. Scorpion being a pretty straightforward punch and kick-a-thon, Rhino being baited into hitting his head against things, Venom was vanishing, you gotta guess where he is and react to where he is, Mysterio's this giant, towering, Gundam mechanical menace monster, like, they're all so different, it's great variety, but the difficulty spikes are what's killing me right now. Good God! But alright, Mysterio defeated, now we're on to the game's final couple of sections here. Now we find ourselves in the final area of the game, this underwater research base. There are more symbiotes here. I cannot wait to avoid them and run away and not fight them at all because of how stupid they are. Awesome. And also we find Black Cat again. Black Cat actually gets kidnapped at the end of the Rhino boss battle. So that's 2 of 2 female characters of this game that are kidnapped and must be saved by Spider-Man. Whoa. I'm not trying to make an issue out of it, but it's just like really obvious to me when I'm seeing it play out like this, which is weird to me because Black Cat's like an actual metahuman. She has powers, so. Like, come on, but whatever. So Spider-Man's like, go get help, and she goes to call the police, I guess. Like whatever is gonna happen with that. Sure. And now we finally come face to face with the puppeteer of this whole tangled web of evil. It was Doc Ock all along. Who would have ever possibly guessed that? Oh my lord! It's almost like he was the bad guy the whole time because he is a bad guy. Jeez. So Doc Ock is responsible for all of the evil here. We have a big boss fight against him. Here we go with the peaks and valleys again, though. So we had this symbiote nonsense again in this section. I'm running away from them. I don't want to fight him anymore because it's terrible. But then this Doc Ock fight, there's health just constantly being thrown at you. It's so ridiculously easy. It's such an easy boss fight. It's over so fast. It was never a threat. Health was readily available. Now the true final boss fight begins, and this is against Carnage. He's the other bad guy. I guess he's where the symbiote things are coming from. So we're gonna take him down. So this one's also different. We can't just like straight up punch him or do web balls or whatever. We actually have to get him in the middle of this room where he gets damaged by this sonic device thing. The question is, how do we do that? Will he walk in there willingly? No. Can we whack him in there with the web balls? No. We actually have to shoot the web out and then swing him into it. And I had no idea that that was a thing you could do until having to look it up because I don't know what the hell to do in this boss battle because there's no clue or like tells you to do it. But yeah, so now here's the problem. I don't know what does it. According to the manual, it's just like C-stick up and then you do it in the direction you want to throw it at and it's the stick. But I don't know what order of events it has to happen. Do I do C-stick forward and then control stick left? Do I do control stick left as a C-stick forward? Is it the C forward and it's the same time? Guess none of them work. It's none of those things. None of them do it. I don't know. It's completely random. When it happens, it happens. It don't happen 90% of the time. I'm right back to pissed off again. This nonsense. I'm doing it, and I'm pressing it, and I'm trying, and it just doesn't want to work. Just doesn't work. Just not working. God. Oh, there we go. There's one. Okay. Oh, come on. There's another one. All right. Just one more. Oh, come on, man. It's just one more. You know, again, the health pickups are just everywhere. There we go. God, I earned that one. I don't get it. I don't know what the winning technique was. I did it apparently, but I don't know what it was. Oh, finally. Okay, Carnage is finally defeated, but he's down, not out. The Carnage symbiote leaves Cletus Cassidy and takes over Dr. Octopus, and it creates Monster Ock. His power level is far too great for our hero Spider-Man. We must escape instead. What follows here is like a Metroid-style self-destruct escape sequence. You're running away, trying to keep your distance from Monster Ock while the facility explodes. You got to climb up all these different levels. It's pretty cool. Monster Ock's sound profile reminds me of John Carpenter's The Thing. So it's got that level of creepiness going for it, I guess. All we have to do, though, is get out. Once we do, we see the Black Cat summon the Avengers who save Spider-Man. Spider-Man also manages to save Doc Ock. Although I guess this means that Cletus Cassidy died in the self-destruct sequence. I mean, I know that he's like a serial killer, but I mean, the heroic thing to do would have been to save him regardless, but I guess not. Spider-Man doesn't play that way. So there we go. The game's over. We get an ending here where the Avengers, comprised of Daredevil and Punisher and Captain America, the two former of which were actually in the game story earlier briefly, they all play Go Fish. Cool. We get Black Cat and Johnny Storm doing aerobics together, I suppose. Johnny Storm's on fire, though, which seems like a kind of weird move to do inside. That's dangerous and rude to your company in the house. But there we go. So, beat the game. Oh, man. What a journey that game was. It definitely has ups and downs, but largely a great game, I can't lie. There's also some added replayability value to it as well, because the game does have a cheat system, which allows you to play the game again with certain modifiers, alternate costumes. Some of the costumes have special traits like infinite web fluid or the ability to turn invisible. So the game has high replay value. But how did the game overall work out? You know, largely great. I would say that it holds up very well. It's not free from its frustration. I would say that it has a largely inconsistent difficulty management to it. So the game, not to say it starts out too easy, the game starts out and it's really fun, things are moving really nice. The Scorpion boss battle, although slightly challenging, is not too difficult. Same thing with Rhino. But man, not knowing the controls that well, that Venom boss fight was just punishing. And even knowing the controls, a lot of those same tactics don't work that well against the symbiote enemies. So what you think is some kind of killer advantage ends up not really being the case. So you have these like really large difficulty spikes, and those symbiote levels largely were not fun. I was just running through them, just trying to get them over with. So peaks and valleys, but largely great game. I wouldn't say that those levels detract from the overall experience, because there are still some great levels and great boss battles and whatnot toward the end parts of the game too that's worth seeing, despite those low-hanging, awful, frustrating symbiote sequences. But there we go, Spider-Man on N64. I do one day want to do the PlayStation 1 version to see the version of the game with all the cutscenes and stuff like that. So. And that brings us to the end. Not just the end of this review, but the end of 2020 also. This has definitely been a roller coaster of a year. Jeez. All I can really do here is say happy holidays, have a happy new year. I hope everyone's staying safe, staying positive. It's been a wild ride for sure. So let's all work toward making 2021 a much more better year. So, again, happy holidays, happy new year, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching.